There are three things I am certain about. I can wire a house without setting it on fire. I can deliver sarcasm with the accuracy of a nail gun. And my wife is sleeping with a muscle head who treats protein powder like a side dish. My name is Mark Dalton. I am 41. That is old enough to know better and still young enough to do something foolish if pushed. I work as an electrician. I carry a union card. In Cedar Ridge, that makes me a rare bird. Most folks around here consult, optimize, or brand things from coffee shops while their laptops do the heavy lifting. I was crouched in our basement with my head in the breaker panel that had been misbehaving for weeks when I heard my wife, Amber, upstairs. She was giggling into her phone like a teenager who just got asked to the dance. The sound made my molars itch. She used to laugh like that with me when we met 15 years ago. Lately, the only time I hear real joy in her voice is when she is talking to someone else. "Oh, Tyler," she cooed. "I almost crossed two hot wires. You are terrible. I cannot wait for our next session." Session, right. Tyler Brooks runs a gym that must offer a very special kind of personal training. My wife keeps coming home with her hair wrecked and her lipstick missing. Either his workouts are tougher than Navy Special Operations training, or the exercise is not what is advertised. I finished the last connection and threw the main breaker. The house hummed back to life. I stood there wishing marriages were like circuits, clear inputs, clean outputs, and when something shorts, you can see it and fix it. "Mark," Amber called down the stairs. "I am going out for drinks with Monica and the girls. Do not wait up." The girls. That is what she calls the crowd of suburban wives who spend daylight hours gossiping over expensive lattes and spend the evenings prowling wine bars like they are still 25. Monica Blake is the ringleader, a bottle-blonde real estate agent who treats other people's problems like a streaming service. "Have fun," I called back. What else was I supposed to say? Do not meet your boyfriend. Do not lie to my face. Do not pretend this marriage is not circling the drain. The front door slammed. Her BMW purred in the driveway and then faded down the street. Through the basement window, I watched her back out fast, probably texting Tyler before she reached the stop sign. My daughter Sophie showed up at the top step. 13 years old. Sharp tongue. She got that gift from me. "Let me guess," she said, leaning on the door frame. "Mom is having another girls' night, where she comes home smelling like cologne that is definitely not yours." Language, kiddo. I did not swear. You did not need to. Your tone did the work. She grinned, and for a second I saw the little girl who used to sit on the garage floor and sort screws for me. "Dad, I am not stupid, and neither are you," she said. "So why are you pretending everything is fine?" That was the question. Maybe I kept quiet because admitting a marriage is falling apart feels like admitting you failed at something everyone else handles just fine. Maybe I held on because I still saw the woman I married under the stranger who treats our house like a hotel and our family like a chore. Or maybe I was waiting for the right time to act. "Your mom is going through a phase," I said, climbing the stairs. "Yeah, it is called a midlife crisis. Jenna Price's mom did the same thing last year. Yoga classes with some guy named Chad. Now Jenna lives with her dad, and her mom lives in a studio and posts quotes about finding yourself. I forget how much kids see. Sophie has been watching the same slow crash I have, only she does not have the luxury of pretending it is not happening. "You hungry?" I asked. "I am thinking pizza. Can we get the good kind? Not the cardboard mom orders because it is healthier. Extra cheese. Pepperoni. Enough grease to make your mother faint." "Deal." While we waited, Sophie sprawled across the couch and scrolled through her phone with the focus of a surgeon. I took my usual spot in the recliner, the one Amber keeps threatening to toss because it does not match her perfect aesthetic. "Dad," Sophie said, eyes still on the screen, "do you know what everyone at school is saying about Mom?" My stomach tightened. What are they saying? They say she is seeing Tyler Brooks, the gym guy downtown, the one who posts those shirtless photos like he is trying out for a romance novel cover. Something cold settled in my chest. It is one thing to suspect your wife is cheating. It is another thing to learn that your teenager's classmates knew before you did. What exactly are they saying? I asked. Sophie finally looked up, serious. Jenna Price's older sister works the front desk at Tyler's gym. She says Mom comes in 3 times a week for private sessions after hours. And last week, Mrs. Whitaker saw them having dinner at that fancy Italian place downtown, the one you wanted to take Mom to for your anniversary, but she said it was too expensive. The doorbell saved me. Pizza. Probably for the best, because I had no idea how to explain to my 13-year-old that her mother might be blowing up our family for a man who thinks literature is the fine print on supplement bottles. We ate in easy silence, the kind that happens when two people understand each other without needing to fill the air. Sophie has always been my ally in this house. She laughs at my terrible dad jokes, and she is the only one who does not groan when I get excited about a tough electrical job. Around 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan Nolan, my closest friend since high school, and the only former police officer I know who is more cynical than I am. Beer? I have news about your situation. Ryan lives 10 minutes away in an apartment complex that caters to divorced men and young professionals priced out of Cedar Ridge. His place is spare but clean, sports memorabilia on the walls, and a shelf of true crime books that would make most people uneasy. Here, he said, handing me a bottle that was actually cold. Unlike the lukewarm disappointments Amber stocks at home. I did some digging on your boy Tyler, Ryan said. He is not my boy. Figure of speech. Anyway, the entrepreneur act is thin. The gym is 3 months behind on rent. He picked up 2 driving under the influence charges last year. And my friend over in insurance investigations says Tyler has a side hustle selling steroids to high school kids. I took a long drink. Amber sure knows how to choose them. It gets better, Ryan said. I talked to Monica's ex-husband. You remember Dave Holloway, construction guy. Decent until Monica decided to find herself with a yoga instructor. He has been watching that whole friend group. Your wife's affair is the worst-kept secret in Cedar Ridge. Monica is spreading it like breaking news. Half the neighborhood knows. That explained the grocery store looks, the pity from husbands, the way conversations died when I walked in. I was not just the last to know. I was the only one pretending not to. There is more, Ryan said. A reliable source says Amber is telling people she is leaving. She says she is tired of being married to a blue-collar nobody and wants to upgrade to someone with ambition. Blue-collar nobody. After 15 years, that is how she describes the man who keeps the lights on in her perfect house. The man who has not missed one of Sophie's soccer games. The man who still brings coffee to the bedroom on Sundays, even when she barely glances up from her phone. So what are you going to do? Ryan asked. I stared at the label on my bottle and thought about Amber's laugh, Sophie's steady eyes, and the way our home has felt like a showroom instead of a family. I am going to do what a reasonable man would do, I said at last. I am going to let her find out exactly what life without a blue-collar nobody looks like. Ryan grinned, the kind of grin that used to scare suspects when he wore a badge. Now you are talking. What do you need? The opportunity arrived sooner than I expected. 3 days later, Amber delivered a breathless announcement over breakfast. She stood in the kitchen vibrating like she had won the lottery. I have made a decision, she said. I am going on a self-discovery retreat. 2 weeks in Colorado. Hiking, meditation, getting in touch with who I am as a person. Sophie looked up from her cereal, one eyebrow raised. Self-discovery? What did you lose? Your sense of humor, apparently, Amber snapped. This is important, Madison. I need to reconnect with my authentic self. I kept my face calm, even while I did cartwheels inside. Sounds expensive. It is an investment in my personal growth. Tyler recommended it. He went last year. He said it changed his whole perspective. I wondered if the new perspective included learning to spell authentic, or if that unit is offered next year. When do you leave? I asked. Tomorrow morning. I know it is short notice, but there was a last-minute cancellation, and Tyler said I should jump on it. Sophie made a sound between a snort and a laugh. Let me guess. Tyler is going to this retreat too, right? What a coincidence. Amber's cheeks went pink. He might be at the same program. Yes, but that is not why I am going. This is about me and figuring out what I want from life. Sounds like you already figured that out. Sophie muttered into her cereal. What was that? Nothing, Mom. I said it sounds great. I watched the scene like it was a nature show. My wife was announcing that she was, in practice, running off with her boyfriend, and doing it with the kind of righteous sparkle that could sell a sermon. Well, I said, setting my coffee cup down. If you need to find yourself, who am I to stand in the way? Take all the time you need. Something flickered across Amber's face, confusion, maybe disappointment. I think she expected a fight so she could storm out and play the victim. Instead, I handed her exactly what she wanted, and it knocked her off balance. You are all right with this? If Colorado is what you need to figure out who you are, then go. I will handle things here. What about Sophie, the house, and your work schedule? I can manage my own daughter and my own house for 2 weeks, I said. I have been doing both for years. That one landed. Her jaw tightened, but arguing would mean admitting how long she has been checked out. Fine, she said. I will pack tonight. After she left, what I assumed was a pre-retreat planning session with Tyler, Sophie gave me a look that was almost admiration. You are up to something. I am up to taking care of you while your mother finds herself. Dad, I am 13, not 3. I know. I smiled. Here is the plan. I have 2 weeks to show your mother what life feels like when no one cleans up her messes. Can I help? Be exactly who you are. I will handle the rest. That evening, while Amber packed like she was heading out for a month, I called Ray. She leaves in the morning, I told him. 2 weeks in Colorado with Mr. Protein Shake. Perfect timing, he said. How much are we moving? Everything that matters. I want her to come home to exactly what she is walking toward. Nothing. What about Sophie's things? Sophie is coming with me. I already spoke with her school about a temporary address. Ray went quiet. You sure, Mark? Once you pull this trigger, there is no going back. I looked around the living room at the furniture Amber chose without asking, at family photos where her smile looked more staged each year, at a life that had turned into a performance instead of a partnership. I have never been more sure. At dawn, Amber rolled out with her suitcase, glowing with an excitement I had not seen in years. She kissed Sophie goodbye and gave me one of those careful, polite hugs that felt like a handshake. I will call when I get there, she said. Take your time, I replied. Really find yourself. As soon as her silver German sedan rounded the corner, I called in sick and sent Ray a text message. Operation Self-Discovery is on. He arrived an hour later with a rental truck and 2 guys from his construction crew who owed him favors. By noon, we had loaded every stick of furniture, every box, every souvenir of the life Amber and I built. Where do you want it? Ray asked, looking over the packed truck. Storage unit on Maple Street. I rented it yesterday. What about her personal things? I held up a single cardboard box. This is hers. Everything else belongs to the marriage she is walking away from. We left the house empty except for one folding chair in the living room and an envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was the note I wrote a dozen times before settling on simple. Amber, I did some discovery too. I learned I am a man who deserves better than being married to someone who calls me a blue-collar nobody. The house is yours. You will need to figure out how to pay for it. Sophie and I will be in touch about custody. I hope you find what you are looking for in Colorado. Mark. Sophie looked around the bare rooms and smiled. It looks bigger like this. It looks honest, I said. That night we checked into a hotel, ordered room service, and watched movies. We talked about everything except what we had just done. Sophie seemed lighter, like she had been holding her breath for months and finally let it go. Dad? She asked as we got ready for bed. Are you scared? Terrified, I said. Sometimes being scared means you are doing something important. Good. I worried you might chicken out. The next evening, around 6 o'clock, my phone began to ring. Calls came in from Colorado. I let the first 3 roll to voicemail. On the 4th, I picked up. Mark, thank God. I have been trying to reach you all day. Busy day on the job. How is the retreat? It is fine. Listen, I tried the house phone, but it goes straight to voicemail. Is the service down? I would not know. I am not there. A pause. What do you mean you are not there? Where are you? Hotel. Sophie and I decided to take a little staycation while you are discovering yourself. A staycation? Mark, what is going on? You are acting strange. I am acting different. There is a difference. I do not understand. Why are you not at home? What about Sophie's school? Sophie is fine. She is adapting better than I expected. Another pause, longer this time. Mark, you are scaring me. What is happening? Nothing is happening. You are in Colorado to find yourself. I am here figuring out what life looks like without someone who calls me a blue-collar nobody. Silence stretched so long I thought she hung up. Who told you I said that? Does it matter? You said it, and you meant it. Mark, we need to talk. I am coming home. Do not cut your retreat short on my account. Take all the time you need. Really discover who you are. I will be here when you get back. Promise me you will be at the house when I get home. I promise I will be available when you get back. It was not a lie, but it was not the whole truth either. I learned that trick watching Amber steer conversations this past year. Say one thing, mean another. When I ended the call, Sophie stared at me like she was seeing me new. We are really doing this. We are really doing this. You sure you are all right having a dad who is about to be the most talked about divorce in Cedar Ridge? Dad, I have been waiting 2 years for you to grow a backbone. I am more than all right. Amber came home 3 days early, cutting short her self-discovery the moment she realized the safety net was gone. I knew she was back because Monica Blake rang me at 7 in the morning, her voice buzzing with gossip. Mark, honey, I just saw Amber pull into your driveway. She looked frantic. Is everything all right? Monica's concerns sounded about as real as a $3 bill, but I played along. Everything is fine, Monica. Thanks for checking. It is just, she is pounding on the door and yelling. The neighbors are starting to notice, and you know how people talk. Of course the neighbors were noticing. That was the point. In a town like ours, reputation is a currency, and Amber has spent years building her brand as the perfect wife and mother. A public meltdown on her own porch is the opposite of perfect. I am sure she is just tired from travel, I said. You know how trips are. But Mark, she seems really upset. Maybe you should. Monica, I appreciate the concern, but Amber can handle whatever is bothering her. She is a very capable woman. I ended the call and dialed Ray. She is back, I said. How big is the scene? According to Monica, visible from space. She is screaming at an empty house while the neighborhood watches. Beautiful. Ready for phase 2? More than ready. We had spent the last 3 days preparing for Amber's return. While she was in Colorado with Tyler, we made sure her homecoming would be educational. I did not rush. I let her sit with her feelings. An hour later, I pulled into the driveway. She was on the front steps with an expensive suitcase, mascara streaks on her cheeks. For a moment, I almost felt sorry. She looked lost, like a kid who wandered off in a mall. Then I remembered blue-collar nobody, and the feeling passed. Mark, she said, standing. What did you do? I cleaned house, I said, walking past her to unlock the door. She followed on high heels that clicked on the hardwood and echoed in the empty space. I left one folding chair in the living room. Nothing else. The echo made the hollowness louder. Where is everything? She whispered. Storage. What do you mean, storage? I mean, I put it in a storage unit. All of it. Every piece of furniture. Every decoration. Every trace of the life we built. She turned in circles, trying to process the bare rooms. You cannot just take my things. I did not take your things. I took our things. Your things are in that box on the kitchen counter. She rushed to the kitchen and tore open the box. Inside were her personal items, jewelry, photos, a few clothes, toiletries. On the counter beside it sat the envelope I left before she flew out. She looked at the name on the front. Her hands shook. I waited. Inside that box was everything that was specifically hers, and nothing that belonged to the two of us as a couple. This is insane, Amber snapped, her voice climbing. You cannot empty our house because you are having some kind of midlife crisis. Midlife crisis? I said. That is rich coming from someone who just spent 3 days in Colorado with her boyfriend. Her face went white. How did you know about Tyler? Amber, everybody knows about Tyler. The whole neighborhood has watched you two play house while I played the fool. That part is over. You do not understand, she said. It is not what you think. Then explain it. Explain the private training sessions with a man who looks like he fell off a book cover. Explain why you come home from those sessions looking like you wrestled a bear. Explain why your face lights up when he sends you a message, but you barely look at me when I speak. She opened her mouth, then shut it. We both knew there was no version that made this better. I want you to put everything back, she said at last. No. What do you mean, no? I mean, no. You wanted to discover yourself. You wanted to know what life is like without your so-called blue-collar nobody husband. Congratulations. You are about to find out. Where is Sophie? Sophie is fine. She is with me. You cannot just take my daughter. I am not taking her. She is choosing to stay with the parent who actually wants to be a parent. That one landed. Amber's face crumpled, and for a second I thought there might be real tears instead of the angry, frustrated kind. Mark, please. I know I made mistakes. We can fix this. Counseling. Whatever it takes. You did not make mistakes. You made choices. You chose Tyler over me. You chose your friends' opinions over your family. You chose to call me a blue-collar nobody behind my back. Those were not accidents. Those were decisions. I never meant for any of this to happen. But you are glad it did. Say it. You have been hunting for an excuse to leave this marriage for months, and Tyler handed you one. The only part you did not expect was me leaving first. She looked around the empty rooms, and I could see the math hit her. No furniture, no husband, no safety net. Just an empty house and a mortgage she could not carry on her real estate income. What do you want from me? She asked. I want you to be happy. I truly do. I want you to find whatever it is you are chasing. But I am not going to fund your journey of self-discovery. So that is it. 15 years and you walk away. You walked away first. I am making it official. My phone buzzed. A text message from Monica. Everything all right? Saw Amber's car at the house. Call if you need anything. I turned the screen so Amber could see. Your friend Monica has been broadcasting your situation. Apparently, the show you put on this morning drew a crowd. Amber's face went from white to red. Monica saw me. Monica saw you. Mrs. Whitaker saw you. The Johnsons saw you. Pretty much everyone on the block had front row seats. Oh God. It gets better. While you were in Colorado, Monica has been sharing colorful stories about you and Tyler. She thinks your affair is the most entertaining thing to hit Cedar Ridge since the mayor's Little Park Fund scandal. Amber dropped into the folding chair, the only piece of furniture left. She looked small and beaten, nothing like the confident woman who announced her retreat a week ago. What happens now? She asked. Now you decide what you want. Try to make it work with Tyler. Find somebody new. Pour everything into your career. The world is wide open. You are free to be whatever you want to be. And Sophie will always be your daughter. She is old enough to choose where she lives. Right now, she wants to live with the parent who does not treat family like an inconvenience. I started for the door, then paused. Oh, and the mortgage is due next week. You may want to call the bank and explain your new situation. I am sure they will be very understanding. The next few days played out like a master class in suburban demolition, timed like a watch, loud as a freight train. I had underestimated how fast news moves in a town like Cedar Ridge, and how quickly a reputation can be shredded by the same people who used to clap for you. Monica, as it turned out, had been waiting years to knock Amber down a notch. What I mistook for friendship was a tidy rivalry. The instant Amber showed weakness, Monica struck like a shark that smelled blood. The first casualty was Amber's job. Monica has connections all over the local real estate market. Within 48 hours of the driveway scene, every agent in town knew about the affair, the abandoned family, and the public breakdown. Real estate, like most sales work, runs on trust and reputation. In sales, people want to hire steady hands. They do not line up for agents whose private mess is the talk of the town. Ray phoned me with updates like a color commentator calling a game. Your wife lost her job this morning, he said on Thursday. 3 clients called the brokerage asking for a different agent. They said they did not want to work with someone in the middle of personal drama. That was fast, I said. It gets better. Monica is posting those vague notes on social media about friends showing their true colors and how family values matter. No names, but everyone knows who she means. I felt a small tug of guilt and let it pass. Amber made her choices. I did not force an affair. I did not force her to treat our marriage like a hotel stay. What about Tyler? I asked. Funny you should ask, Ray said. Turns out his gym has been operating without proper permits for 6 months. Amazing what surfaces when people start paying attention. I know Ray well enough to spot his fingerprints. You would not know anything about that, would you? Me, he said. I am a concerned citizen who believes in safety codes. If Tyler cut corners, that is between him and the inspector. The inspector was very thorough. By Friday afternoon, the gym had a sign on the door, closed pending a complete safety review. According to Sophie, who heard it from Jenna, whose sister works the front desk, Tyler threw a tantrum when the city showed up, shouting about harassment and conspiracies. He even accused Mrs. Whitaker of filing a false complaint because she was jealous of his success. Mrs. Whitaker is 73 and uses a walker, Sophie said over dinner. I doubt she is jealous of a man who earns a living flexing at mirrors. Language, I said out of habit, but I was smiling. I did not swear. Your tone is brushing up against disrespectful. My tone is brushing up against accurate. That weekend I took Sophie to her soccer match, the first one Amber had missed in 3 years. The other parents wanted to ask about everything, but none of them quite had the nerve. I got long looks and soft questions about how I was holding up. Midway through the second half, Tyler made his entrance. He strutted along the sideline like a parade float, all shoulders and attitude. wearing a tank top that showed every hour he spends under lights and mirrors. I will admit, he was impressive the way a peacock is impressive, bright, loud, and a little silly. "Mark," he called, loud enough for half the parents to hear. "We need to talk." I stood from the bleachers and did not rush. Let him come to me. Phones tilted our way as people pretended to check messages. "How is the gym business?" I asked when he got close. His face flashed red. "You know exactly how it is. I want to know what kind of man abandons his wife when she needs him. The kind of man who gets tired of sharing her with her personal trainer. Amber and I are friends. We have a connection you never understood." "A connection," I said. "Is that the word you picked?" "She is remarkable," he said. "She deserves better than a small-minded electrician who does not appreciate what he has." I looked at the parents, at their held breaths and half-hidden cameras, then back to Tyler. He was younger, bigger, and stronger. He was also making threats in front of a dozen witnesses at a children's game. I saw in his eyes the moment he realized it. "You are right," I said. "Amber does deserve better. She deserves someone honest. Someone who does not sneak. Someone who builds instead of tearing down." "I build," he snapped. "I built a business. You build a gym that is now closed for safety violations. That is not quite the same as success." "That is harassment," he said. "Someone fed the city false complaints because they are jealous of what Amber and I have." "What you and Amber have is a mess," I said. "What you had was an affair that broke up a family. If you want to build something real with her, you will need to do it without using my marriage as the foundation." He stepped in close enough that I could smell his cologne, the same scent I have been finding on Amber's clothes for months. "You think you are clever," he said. "You think you won." "I learned something," I said. "Some people are not worth fighting for. Some fights are not worth having." "This is not over." "Yes, it is," I said. "You got what you wanted, Tyler. You got Amber. Now you get to figure out what to do with her." He stood there a beat, clearly digging for a knockout line. Nothing came. He looked like a man realizing the prize he won might not be worth keeping. "Come on, Sophie," I said to my daughter, who had watched the whole thing with open interest. "Let us go get ice cream." As we walked off, I heard one of the parents murmur, "That was better than anything on television." Sophie held her laughter until we were in the truck. "Dad, that was unreal. Did you see his face when you mentioned the gym being shut down? I thought he would pop. And that line about building versus tearing down, that was like a scene from a movie." "Your old man still has a few tricks," I said. "A few tricks? Dad, you took him apart without raising your voice. That was surgical." We rode to the ice cream shop in an easy quiet, both of us replaying the scene. I felt lighter, like I had set down a weight I did not know I was carrying. "Dad," Sophie asked as we sat at a metal table outside, "are you happy?" It was simple, and it still caught me by surprise. My marriage was finished. My wife was in an empty house with a mortgage she could not afford. I was going to be neighborhood conversation for months. "Yes," I said, surprised to hear how true it sounded. "I think I am." "Good. Because Mom called me yesterday." "What did she say?" "She asked if I was mad at her. If I blamed her for all this." "What did you tell her?" "I told her I was not mad. I told her I was disappointed. I said disappointment is worse than anger, because anger fades and disappointment hangs around. I forget how wise my kid can be. That is heavy for 13. "Yeah," she said. "It has been a heavy year." 3 weeks after the sideline showdown, right when I thought life might be settling into a new rhythm, Amber and Tyler tried one last move. It was a Thursday night in late October, the kind of evening where the air smells like winter and streetlights click on early. Sophie and I were in our new place, a modest 2-bedroom that already felt more like home than the house ever had. I was helping with algebra when my phone rang. Ray's name was on the screen, and his voice told me to brace. "Mark, you need to get down to the house. Now." "What happened?" "Amber and her boyfriend just broke into your old place. Mrs. Whitaker called it in. Says they are yelling about taking back what is theirs. Police are on the way, but I figured you would want eyes on it." I looked at Sophie. She had heard enough to grasp it. "Stay here," I said. "Lock the door. Do not open it for anyone but me or Ray." "Dad, I am coming." "Absolutely not. She is my mom. If she is falling apart, I should be there. If your mom is having a breakdown, the last thing she needs is an audience, especially not her daughter." Sophie crossed her arms, so much like her mother it stopped me for a second. "Dad, I have been watching this crash for months. I am not sitting in the apartment while you clean it up. She was not wrong, but I was not going to drag a 13-year-old into that living room. Sophie, I need you to trust me. I do. That is why I want to go. I know you will handle it. We struck a deal. She could ride along, but had to stay in the truck with the doors locked while I handled whatever waited. The scene was worse than I pictured. Amber's silver sedan was skidded sideways across the driveway, driver door still hanging open. Tyler's ridiculous pickup, with oversized tires and enough chrome to blind a man, sat half on the lawn, headlights washing the front of the house. Through the bare living room window, I could see two shapes pacing and yelling, their voices breaking into sharp, ugly bursts that carried into the yard. Mrs. Whitaker stood on her porch in a bathrobe, talking quickly into her phone. When she spotted me, she waved me over. Mark, thank goodness, she whispered. They have been at it for 20 minutes, shouting about furniture and betrayal and Lord knows what else. I called the police, but you know how long domestic calls can take. What exactly are they doing? From what I can see, hunting for something. They keep saying money, belongings, and how you stole everything. Sirens started up somewhere far off. They were not going to get here in time to change much. Mrs. Whitaker, I said, would you watch Sophie from your porch? She is in my truck. I do not want her seeing what might happen. Of course, dear, she said. Be careful. That young man looks like he has been drinking. And your wife, she does not look like herself. I nodded once and headed for the door. The front door hung open. I stepped inside. My footsteps bounced off bare walls, and both Amber and Tyler spun toward me like they had been caught by a flashlight. They looked wrecked. Amber's hair was wild, mascara streaked, blouse wrinkled as if she had slept in it. Tyler was shirtless, scratches raked across his arms, a dark bruise swelling on his cheek. The room smelled like spilled liquor and bad choices. Mark, Amber said, her words a little thick. Tell him where you put our things. Our things. The furniture. The decorations. Everything you stole from this house. I took in the empty room and then looked back at them. I did not steal anything. I moved our belongings to storage. I am not paying to maintain a showcase for someone who does not want to be married to me. Those things belong to both of us, she said. You are right. And when the divorce is final, we will divide them properly. Until then, they stay where they are. Tyler rocked a step forward, unsteady. You cannot just take someone's property because your feelings are hurt. My feelings. I laughed once. Tyler, my wife has been sleeping with you for months. My feelings did not get bruised. My marriage got broken. That is not how it happened, Amber said. You do not understand. Then explain it. Explain Colorado with your trainer. Explain the months of lying. Explain calling me a blue-collar nobody to your friends. I never said that. Monica heard you say it, I replied. At the wine bar 3 weeks ago. You told her, and Aaron, you were tired of being married to a man with no ambition. The color drained from Amber's face. Whether she forgot the conversation or drowned it in drinks, hearing her own words knocked the wind out of her anger. That is not. I did not mean it like that. How did you mean it? I asked. Because from where I stand, it sounds exactly like what you meant. Tyler, who had been winding himself tighter with every sentence, suddenly longed. You son of a... He did not finish. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him past me. He stumbled, slapped a palm against the wall, and turned with fury in his eyes. You think you are clever, he growled. You think you won. You lost your wife. You lost your house. Now you are going to lose your teeth. Tyler, do not, Amber said, but there was no conviction in it. He came again, hands up like we were in a ring. I have been in 3 fights as an adult and lost 2. But 15 years on job sites harden a man in ways a mirror never will. He threw a clumsy right. I caught his wrist and twisted, used his weight to send him stumbling back. He charged once more. I grabbed his shoulders and shoved, hard, into the far wall. Stay down, Tyler, I said. He did not. He came a 3rd time. I stopped waiting. One clean right to the jaw, and he folded to the floor, blinking at the ceiling while blood threaded from his split lip. Jesus, Mark, Amber cried. You did not have to hit him. He came at me 3 times. I said, what would you have had me do? He is upset. I am upset. You destroyed our lives. I destroyed nothing. You and Tyler broke your own lives. I just stopped underwriting it. Sirens were close now. 2 minutes out, maybe less. Tyler sat up, cupping his jaw, looking at me with a mix of hate and grudging respect. Amber wept. Raw, panicked tears, the kind that come when a person realizes the story is no longer theirs to control. "What do you want from us?" she asked. "I want you to leave. I want you to stop forcing your way into a house that is not yours. I want you to stop pretending I am the villain." "Where are we supposed to go?" "I do not know," I said. "That is no longer my problem." Blue lights splashed across the walls as Tyler pushed to his feet. 2 police officers arrived, the kind who looked like they had handled this kind of mess more times than they cared to count. They split us up, took statements, and decided that since no one was badly hurt and the deed still listed both Amber and me, there would be no charges. The damage was done anyway. By morning, the whole street knew about the break-in, the shouting, and the scuffle. Monica Blake claimed she had seen everything from her upstairs window and gave a minute-by-minute retelling to anyone willing to listen. Whatever was left of Amber's reputation finally gave way. The woman who used to run the Cedar Ridge social calendar turned into the example otherwise whispered about at book club and over coffee. As for Tyler, his gym never reopened. Safety violations, bad headlines, and the fact that half his customers now knew he was the kind of man who broke into someone else's house. Put together, that finished him. Last I heard, he moved back in with his parents and picked up hours at a chain fitness center one town over. 3 days after the break-in, Amber called me one last time. "Mark," she said, small and tired, "I am sorry. I am sorry for all of it." "I know you are," I said. Is there any way to fix this?" I looked across our small apartment at Sophie, bent over homework at the kitchen table, and at the life we had built, simple, honest, ours. "No, Amber, there is not. What happens now? Now you learn how to be happy without me, and I learn how to be happy without you." "What about Sophie?" "Sophie will always be your daughter," I said, "but she is going to live with me." "Mark, goodbye, Amber." I ended the call. Sophie glanced up, pretending she had not heard. "You all right?" she asked. "Yes," I said, and I meant it. "I am all right." 6 months later, the divorce was final. Amber moved to another state, found work with a real estate office that did not know her story, and started over. She calls Sophie once a week. What they have is polite, and it keeps its distance. Tyler disappeared from our radar. Some folks say he headed to Florida. Others say he went back to school. No one seems moved to check. I kept working, kept raising my daughter, and kept living in Cedar Ridge like a man who has work to do. A marriage ended. A few people showed who they really were. Life kept moving. The difference now is simple. When people in the neighborhood talk about Mark Dalton, they do not call him a blue-collar nobody. They call him the man who stood up when it counted. That is a reputation I can live with.